agent productivity is a major concern. Now, I know you all know this is obvious. I know you all agree with it because it's common sense, first of all. And second of all, we've also done extensive research confirming this issue. As part of our executive profiling with CCW Digital, we found that 80% of organizations say that their agents have to access multiple systems in order to process a support issue for a customer. We've seen that nearly 50% say that their agents right now are spending too much time on those rote and repetitive and boring tasks. And of course, more than 50% are actually going to be specifically focusing on optimizing workflow and actually measuring productivity rate moving forward. So you put all this together and you have a clear takeaway. If automation can perform some of these repetitive and cumbersome tasks, it's going to make your agents more productive. It's going to allow them to focus on what really matters to your business. More often than not, if you're in the contact center, that's going to be engaging with customers. But whatever your company defines as high-value work, the goal is to create a framework where agents can shift their focus and their time and their workflow to the work that really matters. Now, the beauty of this concept is that it's not just about that whole cliche of let's have bots do the boring tasks so that agents can focus on stuff they want to do. This isn't just about shifting workflow. It's about making workflow better. The simple reality is that machine-driven tools are far better than humans are at a lot of repetitive tasks. Things like data entry, reporting, scheduling, and call logging. Humans just aren't great at that, and since they are just not equipped for it. So even though they're spending a lot of time on it, they're actually delivering an inferior, more error-driven final product. And if you switch to automation, you don't only free them up to do more high-value work, you actually make those repetitive tasks get performed better. So it's really win-win for your contact center. But before we get too excited, before you start just pulling out the balloons and popping the champagne about these benefits, you do have to acknowledge a clear reality. If we start shifting some of these tasks to process automation, what happens next? What is that next step? I feel like so often we get excited and caught up in that cliche, bots for simple tasks and humans for complex ones, but we forget that many of our agents have been trained and conditioned to do simple work. And so, if we're suddenly going to expect them to do more high-value work and more meaningfully engage with customers, we have to properly train them and start measuring them against this new standard. We have to put them in position to be that high-value agent because right now, more often than not, they are a transactional employee. Additionally, you want to think about what's going to happen if right now they're spending 25% of their time on simple tasks as an example, and suddenly you're freeing up that 25%. What are they doing with that extra time? How are you maximizing their workflow so that you as a leader, you as a budget holder are getting that optimal ROI? These are all things you absolutely have to consider, and these are all things that really tie into the next case study that I know the TP team wants to share.
Thanks, Brian. And Pankaj, as you jump into this, you said something really interesting when we were prepping for this. You said, as you look at these processes that you might want to remove from an agent or automate from an agent, you should first look and determine if the process is even appropriate or it should change versus just simply automating it.
Absolutely. Which leads into this next case study of ours, which is from the e-commerce world, wherein we manage seller queries for a leading e-commerce provider. Now, it's often heard that we need to retain customers and customer churn is very important. But equally important in today's world is to retain your sellers, because if you don't take care of them, then there are many alternate seller portals which are available where sellers can switch. In this example, we manage seller queries for one of the leading e-commerce companies. And what happens here is that we get seller queries for things like either their payments are not cleared or there's a grievance that they have, etc. And advisors typically do this manual activity of logging into multiple systems, compile all the information, and get them ready to solve a business case. So what you see on the screen is a typical process, and as I move on to the next one, you see how we have been able to use intelligent robots during the entire customer journey to be able to automate it. Interestingly, as Amit was referring to, the first box has got a cross in front of it, which means that when you're automating something, it's not only about adding robots. It is also about looking at the process intelligently to see whether do we even need that process, which goes onto this entire new thing about design thinking. But coming back to this example, what we did was we applied the robots where they were necessary, got the human intelligence where required, which is more of the new age hybrid ways of working, which led us to a great about 40% of saving or getting efficiency in this. And when we talk of efficiency, it is not just cost efficiency. It is also about customer experience. And in this case, sellers are the ones that are really valuable to us. Again, a great example of how intelligent automation can not only help our customers, but also aid our advisors in this sense.